With the chapter being called Jura, you already know this was finna be a banger. So after Boruto absolutely mutilated the leftovers of Matsuri, Jura is able to finally find his prey. So as Mitsuki and Araya plan what they're gonna do next, we see that ridiculous cut start appearing out of a claw ground, before it's none other than Jura himself. And since Mitsuki don't have anybody telling him what to do, he is stressing. And he don't got Sarada to carry him this time either, so if Jura wasn't such an upstanding gent, he could put bro right back in the test tube he came out of. But instead, he fully spawns in looking as nonchalant as possible before looking at Sarada. And I 1,000,000% thought he was coming to snatch her up when I saw the leaks. I had already sent my prayers. But instead, he goes flying up, just basking at the view, just like he was a few chapters ago when Himawari put them hands to him. But he's also completely ignoring Ryu's Thornbolt, which is ironic because when bro was literally fighting for his life, Jura saw this man reach for him with pure desperation, only getting 2 fingers through, but was still like, nah, you're a make-a-wish, ain't you? Not an OG. Be gone. But that's when we go back to Boruto standing over the puzzle pieces of Matsuri he left on the ground, before we see a sniper bullet go landing past him because that man Jura is at it again. I don't know what's going on with bro's aim, because last time he was hitting them from long range like he was stiff. But he did miss that time too. So what are you planning, Shibai? But even with that, Boruto still as calm as ever, barely even fazed by the secondary antagonist pulling up for the fed. Me personally, I would have been foaming out the mouth looking like Isuki ready to get my get back after getting packed up last time. All because of him, he had Boruto in jail fighting for his life like Tory Lanez. And so that's when Jura decides to dip to just go handle it in person, as Konohamaru gets Matsuri's Thornbolt and being a real nigga, goes right to think about saving his girl. Even though honestly, outside of the bad feats, Matsuri was low-key better, but that's none of my business. But this also makes me realize I have no real idea how the Thornbolts really work for real, because common sense would tell you the Thornbolt should only work for the specific person who got turned into a Shinju, right? Like Matsuri's will only work for Moegis, etc, etc. So I'm curious as to why Sarada awakening her Mangekyo was Koji's #1 priority and not getting Hidari's to bring back Sasuke. All I can think of is they about to get jumped crazy or something, because we saw Boruto in just 3 Tomo Sarada was able to handle Hidari, and honestly by the way Bug was talking to Ida, you would think Damon fights him. So why exactly would you need her to be that strong already? Leading me to think either A, Jura, B, Borushiki, or C, Damon, who could still be a possible threat if he finds out that Sarada is still a threat to Ida. But all that is still ignoring the fact we got Nine Tails Himawari in the crib by herself running around too, with Kaoki still on his villain arc. So what is Ikimoto and Kishimoto cooking? Anyway, we go back to see Boruto spreading out shuriken getting ready to hit the Minato special like he playing Storm, as he tells Konohamaru to get his bum ass out of the way. And just look at Konohamaru's face. You can tell he was finna say some corny shit like, oh Boruto, you've grown so much. But he don't even get the chance because Boruto's stressing. He dropped that nonchalant ad quick. I guess he really do got PTSD from last time. Or either Konohamaru is just that much of a bum. But now Jura is speeding towards him, even charging up his portable Bijou bomb, making Boruto have to save the day again, grabbing up Konohamaru and flying away. As the Bijou bomb obliterates the map, leaving Boruto up here looking down at the damage, holding on to this grown ass man by the collar before just yeeting him down. Got bro looking up like, Boruto, how could you? Till he just lands like he's some kind of superhero thinking he tough, before he has the realization that he is indeed not tough. And so he goes running away, not wanting no smoke. Even Jura's looking at bro skedaddling away with pure disgust. And honestly, maybe it's just me, but looking at bro, I swear he finna have a British accent or something. I can just see it. But while he's daydreaming, Boruto uses this chance to FTG behind him, except we see Jura realize, but he just don't got the reaction time. As Boruto lowers that Rasengan and blows his creature's back out with so much velocity he even messing up the speed lines, as he sends him flying down. Except instead of pulling the Obito, bro just looks up like, I know this boy did not just touch me, before starting up another Bijou bomb, blasting it off with no hesitation, giving Boruto no choice but to FTG away, leaving Jura here as confused and ugly as ever, with Boruto landing under him already gripping his sword, making Jura look back at it and somehow turn around blocking Boruto, and if you zoom in, with 1 finger, which was completely unnecessary. Unless you think about it and he used this finger, because if he used another finger, it would have got sliced off, meaning Boruto is indeed a threat. So at least I can leave here with something. But then they both separate and Jura tells him that fighting some actual comp got his heart thumping with joy. He been fiending for this moment since the first chapter. But Boruto don't even give bro a response. Look at him. He is not in the mood. But speaking of being in the mood, on the next page we see Ida, who's low-key impressed with Boruto hanging so far, especially with how Koji's been glazing this man Jura since he was conceived. I'm talking about doing the splits, backflips, cowgirl, just riding bro crazy, like they have a literal 0% chance of beating him, which leads her to ask, he really has no chance at winning? Making him instantly say, that's right, he has no way to win. And judging by how bro's sweating, I'm inclined to believe him. So this leads to Ida saying he needs to teleport away, except Koji says he can't, even if he wanted to, because it'd be hard for him to detect his objects needed to FTG while also finding somebody as strong as Jura. But even if he somehow could escape, that means he'd leave Jura alone with Konohamaru, Mitsuki, Araya, and Sarada. And personally, I wouldn't be leaving my girl with another man or beast, whatever he identifies as. But that's also overshadowed by the fact that he'd also get the thorn bulbs, meaning all that work and Yodo getting clapped would have just been for Sarada's power up, which is still probably worth it, I'm not gonna lie, but that's bad for morale. So Koji knows that Boruto has to stay until everyone escapes, but the only thing wrong with that plan is it means he's done for. As he go back to Jura cutting right to the chase, telling Boruto that he's here to send him to his granddad, all because he seems to know a little too much about the Shinju. As he proceeds to put two and two together, inquiring if it's because the accomplice who's been helping him. But Boruto turned the nonchalant badge back on and just sitting here mogging bro, making Jura realize that they are not about to have a conversation. So now Boruto's looking pissed before he starts thinking that Jura should have taken at least some damage from the Rasengan. Except Jura looks just completely unfazed, like it was a gust of wind that grazed his back, making Boruto feel like he has no choice but to bring out the Uzuhiko. And from my point of view, what else were you gonna do, buddy? But luckily, since Jura isn't some homicidal maniac, instead of getting straight to work, he poses to Boruto the question, what is love? And it's too bad that Sakura isn't here, because I know she'd have the answer. But instead, we get Boruto still giving them the silent treatment, leading Jura into a rant, expressing that he thinks it's a fatal weakness for humans and a side effect of being highly intelligent. Which I disagree, because it's a lot of dumb in love with stuff. But this ain't about me, as Jura relates his belief to Boruto, who knew he had a minuscule chance at winning, yet still chose to show up just to save his friends. But instead, he showed up to the place of his death. And I'm not one to lie, that, my good sir, was a bar. But then we see Woodstock start sprawling from the ground all around Boruto, making him go jumping into the air, just for more to come out up there, making him ready up and go slicing through it. All while Jura down here just flexing the eyelashes, looking like a TikTok thought, and watching Boruto fight for his life running away. But as we all know, since he's not able to stand still on the ground, he can't charge the Uzuhiko. Except luckily, it don't even matter for real, because more pops out the ground, cooking Boruto and sending his sword flying into the sand as he goes falling too, then getting violated with the wood, putting him in about the same position his dad was in with Jigen. And George is standing there beaming at bro, hands in his pockets too, just chilling, before he starts walking them down. Except he stops as he looks down at the sword that was passed down from the former strongest Uchiha of all time and master of Boruto, making him tell him if he does anything to it, he will face a fate worse than death. Just showing off the top tier rage baiting IQ, setting up for the 200 IQ play. Which is cool and all, but little bro, you are not in the position to be making threats right now. You making checks Momoshiki gotta cash. But hearing that, Jura still picks it up and further reiterates how love will make him suffer, before then proposing a deal. Tell him where his accomplice is, and the sword can stay intact, as his strong ass up here bending it like it's just a toy. But even then, bro's little trade is just like, you're literally here to kill me anyway, bro. You not breaking the sword still puts me in a lose-lose situation. And since great minds think alike, this is exactly what he tells him. Before Boruto finally decides it's time to give Jura a response about love, agreeing that it may be a flaw and a weakness, as we see that wind start charging up before Boruto busts out the wood with the Uzahiko in hand. That's what I'm talking about, man. He really is his father's son, giving me flashbacks to when Naruto was charging his Sage mode when Pain had him in a headlock, till he reminds Jura that because of that, that's why they'll never be more than trees, which I don't agree with, but who am I compared to the young lord? As he then cocks back the Uzahiko and we see Jura look back, get it blasted again, got him leaning, as Boruto get all up in there. But now since we got a backshot POV, we can see that Rasengan earlier didn't even put a scratch on bro's feet. But that don't matter now anyway, because the Uzahiko finna cook him. Right? As Boruto charges it and blasts Jura away, got him suffocating in his own drip. As we see him go flying, looking like he getting took by the Holy Ghost, before he goes landing on the ground, looking up to see his world spinning like he done had one too many drinks. As for the first time, we see a moment of weakness from the leader of this Senju, giving Boruto the confidence to give him a lecture as he even sheaths his sword. This man did not listen to Koji, because then we see Jura analyzing the power before putting his hand on his chest and just dispelling the Uzahiko like it was nothing. The same attack that uses the literal planish chakra and spin just instantly negated, leaving Boruto in disbelief. As Jura then tells us that it works like his Bijou Bomb, therefore he's able to nullify it. And I'ma be honest, the aura is impeccable right now, Jura. It's not a Shiki level, but this panel is for sure tough. And your presence has indeed been felt. And so now Boruto might be one step closer to the end Jura promised.